we got a call at 6:47 this morning to 41 Triple S Road. It's off Mount Lebanon Road, off Granddaddy Road. Initial call we got from dispatch was of a barn type structure on fire with fertilizer and propane involved. On the way out here, we noticed the seriousness of the situation and went ahead and contacted Lawrenceburg HazMat and our EMA office. EMS was actually first on the scene. Sheriff's Department came out and helped us secure the scene. Involved in this fire, when the first units arrived, the building was fully involved. Now that we've got some totals, we understand that there was 4,000 gallons of liquid fertilizer, 31818, which is a food grade fertilizer. Also had some liquid fertilizer in the amount of 2,000 gallons of 32% UAN. Also we had about 200 gallons of diesel fuel, 75 gallons of gas, and at least 200 gallon propane tank that was impinged on and venting upon our arrival. Upon the arrival of the first units, there had already been a loss of some livestock. I think there was 2 calves that had been lost as a result of the fire. But the fire was so massive, and the risk of the hazardous materials, and of course the propane tank, that we elected to go to defensive and not put water on the fire in order to prevent further environmental contamination. So units on the scene, we've got about 9 departments from Lawrence County Fire Rescue here on scene. They helped the owners we protected some exposures and moved equipment that was not involved in the fire.
We were called upon our HazMat team for air monitoring and monitoring of the runoff. At the time we arrived, our HazMat team arrived on the scene, the decision was done made to go defensive. So we set up air monitoring close to the scene as well as away from the scene to make sure the residents, the public of Lawrence County was protected, and we knew there were no issues. We also had some of the county departments monitoring the 64 bypass, making sure the smoke area was high above the bypass and above the houses. Our readings never got to any level of concern whatsoever. We're proud of that, but the decision was made to go defensive because of all the environmental issues and runoff we would have had. Sometimes the fire, you're better off to let the situation burn itself out. And when we arrived on the scene, this building was fully involved, and I think it was a wise decision by the incident commander to let the building go, because if we had tried to put it out, we would have created more environmental concerns than what we already have. When we arrived on the scene, the building was fully involved, and we knew we had at least 4,000 gallons of fertilizer in there, liquid fertilizer. We also knew we had propane tank venting and some other propane tanks inside. There was nothing to save other than equipment like Tyler talked about outside the structure. There was nothing to save but that. So the risk of trying to put the fire out was greater than the runoff potential. So we decided to let the fire burn itself out, because had we put it on there, all that water and all that chemical is going to run somewhere. So we're adding to the problem by doing that. Therefore, we elected just to let it burn because the damage was already done.
Lawrenceburg, Lawrence County Emergency Management got in contact with the school system just to make them aware of what the potential would be for the smoke making it to any of the schools, which never got anywhere close. I think it was a very, very good job on what the fire departments did to try to not have as much a contamination. They've done some outstanding work as far as trying to keep the runoff down to minimal. The environmental impact is a big concern. We did make contact with the state, had state assets that were available if we needed them. This one didn't turn out to be where that we needed them. Pretty much, the advisement part of the different agencies around, and from the air monitoring, we knew that there wasn't any need to evacuate any larger, so we kept everything down to where it was manageable.
We've got our HazMat, the City of Lawrenceburg's HazMat setup is here, and we've actually got a crew in there. They've actually got the maps pulled up of the streams around the area. They're actually the air monitors that the guys on the scene have in hand. They're monitoring inside the truck. So initially, when we were trying to address mitigate all the initial hazards. Those guys were working on what streams would be affected, what areas of population would be affected by it. And fortunately, the weather cooperated with us and allowed the smoke to get high enough up. We had some people go all the way to the bypass. We had fire officials, spread out along the smoke path, making sure that the smoke was staying high enough that it was not falling out on anything. I think the estimates I heard was 300 to 400 feet the whole time. So as long as that's happening, we put water on it, we're going to bring the smoke down to the ground, the moisture. So once again, that's why we made the decision we made, and definitely hate the loss for the property owners, but the safety of the general public is also our big goal. So I think everything worked out today from what could have been it's a bad situation, but it could have been much worse. And I think everybody will agree.
Neighbors may see a little bit of steam or smoke rising, but the damage is done. The fire is contained to the building, the structure itself. So once the fire department leaves, there'll be no worries as far as it spreading to another structure or anything like that. They'll make sure that all that's taken care of. We appreciate everybody's cooperation and everything that's been done. And from our standpoint, from the HazMat team and the Lawrenceburg Fire Department, the county fire department's done an outstanding job with what was done and the decisions that was made here today.